Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter. Today you're going to be watching a plein air disaster. So today you're going to be watching a plein air painting that I did several years ago on a wonderful trip with my family over in Europe. This one is of a beach in Santorini. We'll call it Santorini Beach. I was going through some footage, old footage, recently, and I did find several, I think this is my third one now, footage that never made it to YouTube for various reasons. So this particular painting, unbeknownst to me and my partner on this one, it was a clothing optional beach. So it took some time to edit and to get rid of the areas that shouldn't have been being seen by people on a plein air painting tutorial, as well as it was very difficult for me to keep my composure. It was super hot. So there's all kinds of fun stuff in this one, but there are also some good painting tips. So that's why I decided to finally release it. So I hope you enjoy. Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter from Berkshire Paint and Sip, and this is Paint and Sip at home. Alright, so today I'm in Santorini, Greece. I'm going to be painting the red beach, which is a beautiful spot here, and I'm going to be sipping a very little bit of ouzo, which is made in Greece. So let's get painting. Okay, so for the materials today, I'm going to be using a 16 by 20 stretched and primed canvas. You can get these at any of your local craft stores, or you can order it online. And of course you can switch up the size, but this is the size I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint. The colors I'm using are Mars Black, Burnt Umber, Deep Yellow, Green Oxide, Titanium White, Cobalt Blue, and Fire Red. And of course you can switch up the colors if you want, but those are what I'm using. For my brushes today, I am using a number 10 flat brush. I'm going to be using a number 6 round brush. I'm going to be using a number 4 bristle brush, and this is a number 24 bristle brush. And I'm also going to be using a pencil. I'm using a dark number 4 pencil so you can see it on camera, but you can use any pencil that you want for your initial sketch. You're going to need a paper towel for drying your brushes and a cup of water for washing your brushes. And that's all you're going to need today. Okay, so what I'm going to do for my first step is I'm going to do an initial sketch. For you at home, if you're painting outside, what you can do to figure out where you're going to paint is create your own viewfinder. I use my fingers as a viewfinder, and I put them in a similar shape to my canvas. So for me, I'm going to be painting from the left of the door that's on that little stone building up to the top of the flags. And I'm painting over to there's a little gray rock standing over to the right, and then I'll probably include some of these rocks down by the shoreline. So how I'm going to divide my canvas and get it to be in sections for my initial sketch is I'm going to section out my building, and for me that comes about 1/3 of the way over here, and it's going to be a little bit up at an angle here. I can't really see the bottom of it because it's got umbrellas, so I'm just going to kind of improvise and pretend like I can see what it is. And then I know that I'm going to have my beach water area, so I'm just going to follow the bottom of this building over to about here, and I'm going to put my beach in somewhere about here. And then I'm going to have maybe some rocks down at the bottom in through here. It looks like there's a big rock in through here. So I might make some rocks over here. Beach in through here, water here. This is the cliff, and then this is my little building in through here. So that's how I'm going to section mine off. And so you can put your pencil down and get ready for the next step with the big brush that you have. All right, so what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to do my first layer of my rock in the background, this cliff, and I'm going to do my base coat, which is referred to as blocking in your colors. So what I see is that the rock goes from like a gray tone to that orangey reddish brown tone. So the colors that I'm going to be using are black and white, brown, my red, and possibly my yellow as well. So I'm going to start over on the left hand side. I'm going to put brown, black, and white on my big brush, and I'm just going to start going left to right because I want there to be different color variations throughout this area. So that's why I'm using all of these colors on my brush at the same time. And if you can, you can put the brush stroke in the direction that you see those little, they're almost like veins going through the rocks. So if that's kind of what I'm doing, is kind of going up almost in a diagonal fashion with mine, because that's what I'm seeing as the veins. I'm bringing it right to my building here just so I can have a nice transition when I can overlap the building. I want it nice and dark where it hits that building too, so that way when I put the building on top of it, you'll be able to see it. And again, I'm just kind of moving myself over to the right hand side. Now I'm incorporating a little bit more brown and yellow as it's transitioning into the reddish rock. And I'm just kind of overlapping these so they blend well together when I go to put the little details on later. Now I'm going to start incorporating a little bit of red with my brown and yellow, so that way it's almost like a burnt sienna orange kind of color. But I'm still using the black too, so that way I have a lot of variations in the colors. As you can tell, I'm sitting right next to the ocean with some crashing waves. So hopefully you can hear me above the waves. If not, maybe I'll do a voiceover or something later, but this is really fun. I can't complain because I'm painting in Greece by the ocean and I'm just having fun. So I'm still using some more of the reds and the yellows and the browns as I go over towards here. And you can see I'm kind of switching colors as I go along, so I have that variation to use when I go to do those details at the end. I have a little clumpy thing on here. And again, just more reds and browns to get this vibrancy to happen on your canvas. Maybe a little bit of black in through here too. All right, almost done here. Just want to make sure I get good coverage on this first coat. It's really warm out here too, so my paint is drying really fast on my canvas. Just 1 second here. I want to incorporate just a little bit more in through here. All right, and then we are going to be using this big brush for the next step. So when you get done with this step, you can wash and dry your big brush and get ready for the next step. Okay, so what I'm doing for the next step, I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. I'm going to be creating the beach. The beach is made up of the sand that has come down from this ledge. So it's going to be all the same colors that you see in through here. So I'm going to be using black, brown, white, yellow, and red. And for me, the beach is lighter as it hits the land or the rocks in here, and it gets darker as it goes, and the more reds are towards the water area. So I'm going to start with white, brown, and black on my brush. And you don't need this to be super textured or anything. It's really, we're going to be adding another layer or details onto it later. So you really just kind of want to get the colors to resemble what you're going for. So right now I'm still using black, brown, and white. I'm going to use a touch of yellow also, just to kind of incorporate some of the rock color, and now I'm going to start to use some red and brown as it goes down towards that water. Maybe a little bit of black too. Get it nice and dark. And if your red turns pink, you need to counteract it with some yellow. That's how you're going to get, or brown, it to not look too pink, especially if you had a little bit of white on your brush. And again, I'm just kind of getting this to meet where I'm going to be having that water in a minute. It doesn't have to be a clean line, just something that looks like it's going into the water is fine. I already pre-sketched where I want my rocks, so I just want to make sure I get that beach to go right up to those rocks. And I'm just making sure that I have enough paint on my canvas here, because again, my canvas is drying really fast on me. And I also want to make sure it resembles the beach that I'm seeing in front of me. Alright, and once you get a nice good coat on through here, we are going to be using that big brush again for the next step, but you're going to want to wash it and dry it. I'm just kind of quickly doing another pass here to make sure it has the colors I'm looking for it to have in it. And sometimes the faster you go, the easier it is to kind of get these colors to blend with each other. If you have a good amount of paint on your brush, it will stay wet for, you know, a long enough period for you to get them to kind of intermingle together. That went up a little bit higher than I wanted it to, so I'll just counteract that with a little bit of brown. Okay, and then I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna wash and dry this big brush for the next step. Okay, so the next step I'm going to do is my first layer of my water. This water is like the craziest color I've ever seen, and it's even more crazy when you're up on top of the hill. But it's like this deep greenish, reddish, bluish color. I don't know how to explain it. So what I'm going to be doing is, again, it's coming from the colors in that rock. So I'm going to be using red. I'm going to use blue because I know that the ocean is blue. I'm going to use black. I'm probably going to use green and some white. And if I add some other colors, I'm sorry, I'll let you know. So I'm going to use blue, red, and black to start on my brush. And I'm just going to kind of go left to right. I see that I want some more blue in this. My black will overpower it. I'm going to come closer to the edge here. Now the trick to getting water and beach to meet each other is you want them to overlap one another. So I'm kind of getting this wet or darker shade to intermingle with that beach area a little bit. Which is why I'm kind of just going left to right and overlapping it. I know I want it to be a little bit darker because that's what the wet sand is looking like. It's looking darker to me than the dry sand. So I'm getting this to kind of come up into it and meet it. I am going to keep going with this little color combination right up the shoreline here. And then I'll start to work on what I want for the rest of the color in the water, because it looks like it's going to lighten up as it goes out towards the sea a little bit. So what I'll do is I'm going to start to incorporate maybe a little green and a little white into my mixture. And I'm just kind of going left to right, almost in a little jaggedy fashion, so that way it looks like there's little ripples and you've got some dark spots and some light spots. I want to go all the way down to where I said I was going to have my a couple of rocks down at the bottom. I don't think I've ever seen water this color before. It's really pretty beautiful if you see it in person, but I'm hoping that it translates as well on camera, but it's a really neat color here. And again, I'm just kind of going left to right, leaving some light spots and some dark spots, making sure as it hits that beach, it's got some of those red tones in it. I know that the red on my canvas is going to dry darker than it is when it's wet, so I can really kind of load it up while it's wet, and it'll turn a little bit darker as it dries. I want to incorporate a couple of these little spots of red throughout the water too. Again, because I know that they're going to dry darker, I can put them on kind of a little bit more heavy. And just make sure I've got a nice area that hits the water. And then I'm going to add a little bit of these little white caps along that are kind of crashing in every now and again. And sometimes if I just added a little bit of water to my brush, sometimes that'll help you to kind of get these in a little bit further. And then I am going to switch. No, I think I'm going to use my big brush again for the next step. So after you get this shoreline where the water comes into the beachy area, once you get that all done, you can wash and dry that big brush again for the next step. All right, so what I'm doing for the next step is I'm going to be doing some rocks along here. I'm going to be using, again, all the same colors I used for up here. I might incorporate a little bit of green too. So I'm probably going to use every color on my palette except for blue. So for me, the trick for rocks is I do the ones that are farther away and I work my way to the ones closer. You could just have a couple of big, like, singular rocks and call it a day, but if you want to have multiple rocks, what you can do, I've got black and white on my brush right now, and you can kind of form one rock. You want different shades of color within that particular rock, and then you can start building rocks in front of it. You know, you're going to have the picture of this scenery that you can work off of, and you could do these rocks exactly as you see them, but I'm just going to kind of improv here and kind of just use what I see out there as inspiration. And you may choose to use a different brush, but I'm just going to kind of use this one as my brush of choice. I'm using a little bit of brown. I think I'm going to do another rock in front of here. Maybe this one's going to be a bigger one. And you can do as many rocks as you want. You can put littler ones in front, whatever works for you, but I like to, again, work from the back forward, and that way you can put other, you know, ones in front of other ones without, you know, working too hard at it. Or you can just take like a white line and separate them with a white line. So again, whatever kind of process works for you. But when I'm just doing them quick like this, I'll just put a couple in the back. I'm going to put a couple here in the front. And I'm using those as inspiration, but you know, I'm kind of just improvising these here. The green is going to insinuate that there's a little bit of moss there. You can add little highlights and make, you know, some areas brighter than others. But again, I'm not going too detailed with these rocks, just trying to get something in the foreground to give some interest to the front of this painting here. You could have done I could have done the water all the way down, but I kind of wanted to incorporate some of these rocks here. And right now I'm just kind of picking up different shades of, the one color I'm not using right now is I'm not using a lot of red, because I don't want, I will use probably a little bit, but I don't want these rocks to get lost in front of the water. I want them to definitely, I want you to be able to tell that there's something different than the water itself. So if I do too similar color, then it's going to be pretty difficult to discern what is what. So right now I'm just kind of putting a couple of lighter ones in through here. Maybe now I'll put a touch of, you know, red over here somewhere. And then I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these rocks, just because I want to spend my energy elsewhere on this painting. But definitely giving them some variations in colors and shades within each rock, that helps to make them look more natural. So that's kind of all I'm going to do for these rocks. The next step I am going to do is going to be with that little bristle brush. Or, yep, I just picked up the wrong one, but I really meant the bristle brush. So when you're all set with these front rocks, you can put the big brush away in your water cup and take out that bristle brush and get ready for the next step. Alright, so what I'm doing for the next step is I'm going to do this little stone building here. I'm going to be using all of my colors except for blue. So I'm going to use my red, black, rust, brown, yellow, green, and white. I'm going to use this bristle brush, and really I'm going to be doing dots, so it kind of gives the illusion of rocks. I just started with brown and white on my brush, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this brown and white to kind of give myself a makeshift kind of outline for the building. I do have a door to contend with, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself kind of a section for my door, so that way later I can work around it and then just put my details on that door when the time comes. So right now I just dipped my brush in red, brown, and yellow, and I'm going to do some more dots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a color combination, like I'm just doing red, brown, and yellow right now, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of dots with that particular color, and then I'll just pick another color combination and I'm going to make dots with that color. So this way I'm going to have light spots and dark spots. I have brown and black on my brush right now, and I will, by the time I'm done, I'm going to have something that resembles stone. It doesn't have to be exact. You could work at this all day long to get it to be exactly as it is out there, but I'm just going for a quick kind of impressionistic view of this. You can mix your own colors if you want to, like I'm pre-mixing like a little tan color, and I'm just going to kind of keep dotting. And this might take you a few minutes to do, but it'll be worth it. By the time you're done, it'll look like you have a nice stone building here. You do want to make sure that you bring it all the way up to the outline of the rock that sits behind it, so you don't have any vacant canvas. You might choose to use a bigger brush than I'm using. That way you can dot it faster. But whatever kind of works for you is fine by me. And I'm just kind of getting some more of the reddish color over here. So this might take, oops, this might take you a minute or two to get it all done. But like I said, when you are done with it, it's going to resemble a nice stone building, or a quick stone building. And again, don't hesitate to use that gray. But again, you want to make sure that you cover the whole area so that way it has a nice filled in look and doesn't look like you were shy on doing any, on completing any areas of the painting. And for me, it looks like it's lighter than the stone behind it, so that's why I'm making it lighter, especially along that edge. Make sure you get all the way up to your door. I think I'm going to have it come a little bit higher up and through here. Okay, I'm almost set here. I want a little bit more brown down here. And again, this is one of those steps that you could, have fun with and spend a whole bunch of time on it. Making sure you have every rock looking like its own separate rock, but in an interest of video time, I'm not going to take too long on it. I'm just going to kind of make sure I have it all kind of filled in here. Make sure I have a good amount of paint on here. And then once you feel like you've got the majority of it nice and painted in, we are going to be switching brushes back to your large flat brush, the large bristle brush. So when you're all set with coloring in your stone, get out your large bristle brush. Okay, so for the next step, what I'm doing is I'm going to be finishing the detail on my cliffs in through here. I'm going to be using my large brush. I'm going to be using all the colors that I used initially, which is everything except for green, yep, and blue. So the trick here to getting these rocks to almost separate from one another is you have to literally give them a separation. So what I'm doing is I put some brown on my brush, and I'm going to kind of almost outline what I want to be the edge of one of the cliffs, and then I'm going to pull the paint out towards the right. Because I'm right-handed, this is the way that it works for me. And as I pulling it out to the right, I'm going to try and emulate the markings on that particular rock. So I'm just kind of mixing my colors here. So this particular one has like markings almost down at a diagonal. So I put my brown as like my shadow between those two rocks, and now I can use brown and any other colors that I'm seeing in those rocks to give that particular rock its identity. So I'm just doing this kind of coming down. I'm using a little bit more brown on my brush, and just make sure that you fill in the canvas itself. So my next rock is going to be somewhere over here, and I've got varying rocks coming about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of black and brown on my brush, and I'm not going to go too into detail on this, but I am going to put a few in here just so you can get kind of the hang of it. And then you can certainly spend more time on your own kind of getting these to really come to life, putting the curves in them. That's what's going to make them kind of separate from each other. Adding these little like markings coming down them. And if you add like a little light edge to a particular one, that will help to separate it from the one that it is in front of. And rocks are definitely not the easiest thing to do, especially in this quick atmosphere as I'm doing them here. But if you work at them, usually the more layers that you put on them and kind of the more information that you can give to it, the better off it will end up looking in the end. If you can kind of translate some peaks, and again, I'm just kind of going for an impressionistic kind of look here. I'm not going for it to resemble, you know, a photograph per se. I'm looking at some distinct markings that I'm seeing and trying to translate them onto the canvas so you can get the idea that we are in fact, you know, where we are. And that way it gives you the illusion that, you know, we've got dimension in the rocks. You can see right now I'm just kind of improvising here and trying to get some of the information that I'm seeing out there onto the canvas. I'm seeing some dark spots up the top here. That's why I'm putting these in through there. I see that it's really dark down in through here, but it scoops up with these lighter markings. And that kind of allows it to give the shape to the rock. It's got all of these beautiful little markings. So it's kind of like you're doing it, you know, think of it like an ocean wave or something that has movement to it. If you can, trees are the same way with like almost the grain of the tree. If you can kind of emulate the direction of these markings, that's going to help to give the illusion that it is what it is. You know, again, if you want it photorealistic, you can certainly do that, and it takes a good amount of time to get it to be that way. But it's certainly a wonderful skill to have. But for me, when I'm just out having a fun time, I don't really need it to be exactly like it is out there, but I do want it to have, you know, some of the characteristics. I do see that there's some darkness as it hits that beachy area, so I want to make sure these rocks look like they're separate from the beach. I'm putting in some like little dark shadowy areas down at the bottom, so it almost looks like the rocks are rolling down into the beach. And again, I'm just kind of giving it the illusion. There's some like gravelly stuff that's coming down over here, so I can just dot that into there. And this, again, all these little tiny details that you can incorporate will help to tell the story of where it is that you're painting. I like that there's this gravelly stuff because it looks like it's coming down in a couple of different spots. So that's what I'm going to kind of incorporate in through here. And again, I'm just kind of dotting a little bit of a lighter color here. So like the brown, black, and white. And this is also helping to add that dimension. I'm going to go ahead and do that over here while I've got the paint on my brush. And again, I'm just kind of having fun right now with getting these lighter colors on here to get them to blend into that beachy area. And you could, like I said, spend a whole lot more time on the cliffs themselves, but I'm going to be adding some other fun little details on here. So I think at this point I'm going to kind of call it on this step. I just want to make sure I've got some nice darkness in through here. And for the next step, I am going to be using my the small pointy brush, the number 6 brush. So when you get this all set, you can put this larger brush away in your water cup. You like how I'm stalling here? Away in your water cup and take out, oh, hold on one second here. And you can take out that small brush for the next step. Okay, so what I'm doing for the next step is I'm doing some little details. I'm going to put a rock. I'm going to do rock details. So it's going to be a little rock here, maybe some little white rock here, and my door, because that's made of rock, I think. So I'm going to be using black and white. I'm using my small brush, and I'm just kind of incorporating some little details in through here. It's a lot of paint. Again, this is just to kind of give credibility to where you're painting. You can really improv and make it your own. I got brown and white on my brush at this point. Oops, watch out! Some of the rock just fell. You all right? Okay. I don't know where this one is. I think it's somewhere around here. I'm just gonna put a little rocky thing there. I'm going to make my door something like this. I can't even really see what the door is doing, so I'm just making something up here. And hopefully it looks good when I'm done. I don't even know what the door is. So we're just gonna do this, and I'm gonna put a little doorknob. Looks good to me. And I am gonna use this brush for the next step so you can wash and dry it. Okay, so what I'm doing for the next step is I'm creating those little flags up at the top of the building. I'm going to be using my small brush. I'm going to start with white paint, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of posts first. So I need to spray my white because it's drying a little bit here. I'm going to do a white as my base coat. For all of these, I'm going to make them different heights. I know that the flags that are up there are probably representational of something real, but I'm just going to have fun and do some impressionistic little flags here. I'm going to make them all kind of blowing in different directions. And what this is going to do for me is it's going to add a lot of color to my painting. You can overlap them if you want, but I'm just kind of putting them in whatever kind of direction that I want to. You can have big ones and little ones. They can be blowing. I guess they should all be blowing in the same direction, but it's all right. I'm having fun. Maybe the wind is doing its own thing, and it's got some parts of the wind that are blowing harder than others. But again, I'm just having fun with this. Maybe I'm going to have a really big flag here. And you can see I kind of rest my hand on my canvas. It stabilizes me. I have one of those nice shaky hands. So once I get all my flags where I want them to be, then I can just start having fun and painting them whatever color you want. So I just am making an on-the-fly kind of orange. So I'm going to paint this one orange. I like using the white as a base coat because it allows me to have more vibrant colors. I'm going to use red, and maybe I'll do some red stripes on this one. Maybe I'll do a diagonal stripes on this one. You can do the posts. You can do, you know, anything that is fun to you. This one's going to be blue stripes. This one's going to be all blue. I'm going to mix blue and red, and I'll get like a purpley color. So you can really have fun. You could do it exactly as it is out, you know, in the picture that I'm going to provide to you, or you can improvise. I'm going to use yellow now and have a yellow flag. I'm going to have 2 yellow flags. And then one's going to have some polka dots on it. Because that's what I want to do. So you can really, like I said, have fun with it. You could even do, I'm seeing there's like a little flag that has these little triangles on it. So again, you could have as much fun with this as you want. I just think I'm going to make all red ones. And then I'm going to use this small brush for the next step. So when you get done doing your flags, wash and dry your small brush and get ready for the next step. Okay, so what I'm doing for the next step is I'm going to do some umbrellas and those little tiny tables that are underneath. But again, I'm just doing what I want because that's what I can do as a painter. I'm going to use that as my inspiration. I'm not including any people in my painting. I'm just going to kind of have some umbrellas. I like how there's one colored one and the rest are white. But I don't want to use just white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use white and maybe a little bit of brown, so they're almost like a tan color, like a light tan color. And I'm going to start with the one that is closest to me first, and then I'm going to work my way backwards. So I'm going to make this one pretty darn big, and I'm going to make it overlap this edge of the building. So I'm making it with an arc like this. And you'll see why I want to do this one first. And you might find that you end up wanting to do a couple of layers on your umbrella just so you get it to cover the area or be not so see-through. And I'm going to kind of have this hide behind the rock. I've got some little pieces coming down. I don't know what color I've got right now. It's some kind of white mixture. So I'm going to do this first one is going to have a little bit of detail on it, and then all the rest are going to be less detailed because they're going to be smaller and they're going to be going off into the distance. I like to kind of, and again, you can really make these umbrellas as detailed as you want or as simple as you want, but I like mine to have a little bit of detail on it. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a creamy color. You saw that I did those almost like they're the wire marks or the supports underneath. If you do those with like a brown color, you can do the inside pieces with a little bit of a lighter color or vice versa. You could do the, they're called spokes, that's what they are. The spokes you could do a lighter color, and then inside you could do a little bit darker color. Or you could just do it all tan, and then you could put like white as the color for the spokes. And I guess I had another color on my brush at that moment. But the first one's going to take the longest. And then once you get into the others, you'll find that they go a little bit quicker. And then again, you could do more than one layer. I'm just kind of getting this on here so it resembles an umbrella. And then I'm going to do a post for it. And then I'm going to do this little kind of makeshift little table here. And then I'm going to do subsequent ones. So for the next one, it'll probably be something similar. I don't think I really wanted it that big, but that's okay. And then I think I'm going to do something like this. Paint it in. Maybe this is going to be my blue one. I just put blue and white on my brush. Blue and white. And this one I'm going to paint the spokes in separately. So blue and white. And I'm not pre-mixing the color, I'm just kind of picking up both colors on my brush at the same time. And then I can take white and kind of make myself these little lighter spoke marks. And then I'm going to put myself a little pole. I've got my my little table. That table is not the prettiest, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to do a couple of little smaller ones over here. And now I'm going to change up the little way that I am doing them. You can see what I'm doing at the bottom is I'm just kind of making these little scoop marks. Now I'm just having fun. I like it sometimes when you just get to the end and you're like, oh, kind of, you know, in the home stretch, and you're like, I just got a couple more things to do. And when you start just kind of not thinking about it as much and you just want to kind of, you know, get her done, and you just start painting faster, sometimes that's the funnest. I just put a little white and yellow on my brush for this one. And again, you can really have fun with whatever colors you want these to be. I'm just kind of, you know, maybe I'll put a little red one here. So I put white and red on my brush. And I will put the little spoke marks. I know I said a little while ago that I liked the way that they were, maybe I didn't say it to you guys, I was saying it to myself, that I liked how these umbrellas were almost all the same color out in the distance, but as I'm painting, I'm like, oh yeah, but I want a little color. So sometimes you just, you know, go with the flow and do whatever's coming naturally to you. And if you want to put color in where you plan not to, just do it. You know, that's where your painting is really going to be its best, is when it happens kind of organically and you just do intuitively what you're feeling is the right thing to do at that point. So now I'm going to just take a little bit of white and kind of give some little highlights to this. A little bit of white. And this is going to add, you know, a little bit of fun dimension to it. I still need to put the little tables underneath these ones. And I'm just going to do this with a little bit of white. Put them in different directions. Put the little legs on. So I think I'm going to do one more step. I thought this was going to be it, but one more step with the the small flat brush that you have, the number 10. So when you're done with this, put this small brush away and grab your number 10 flat brush for the final step. Well, there's two steps, but almost final. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this step is I want to make a couple of little tweaks to the beach because it almost is too dark for me. I think I want it to be a little bit lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using brown and a little bit of white, and I'm almost just kind of adding like a little layer of lighter sand on top of what's already there. So that way it looks a little bit more like daylight, like, because I feel like it's almost too dark based on what I'm seeing out there. So this is helping to lighten it up a bit. I could have done this before, but I'm feeling like I didn't know if I needed to, so right now I feel like it really needs to have a little bit of lightness here, especially as it's going towards the water area. So this is going to help to make there look like there's a wetness to the water as it's coming in, and it also adds that more of a light fluffiness to the sand. So just kind of adding a little bit here and there. I still want to see some of that darkness underneath, so I'm not doing too much here. And you could dot it, you could you know, do as I'm doing, which is just kind of left to right. And I am kind of bumping into some of my little umbrella details, but that's okay. I can quickly just use a little bit of white on this same brush and kind of re-identify those spots. And this kind of goes downhill a little bit, so that's why I just put a little bit of direction to those brush strokes. And then once you've got this satisfactory, which I feel like I'm pretty much there, I'm just going to stick a touch of white back on my brush just to re-identify anything that you might have kind of stumbled over during that little modification step. And then I think that's about all I'm going to do. I could keep going here. Maybe I'll put a little bit more white caps here, but that's it. So the next step is the very final step. It's going to be with your tiny paintbrush, your smallest round paintbrush, so you can get that out and get ready for the final step. Alright, so what we're going to do for the final step is I'm going to sign it. I usually sign mine in the bottom left or the bottom right corner. I'm going to be doing this one in the bottom left. I'm going to be using black paint. I sign my initials. You could sign your first name, you could sign the date, whatever works for you. And that's going to do it for this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you love your painting, and I look forward to painting with you again sometime.